I am totally ready.
No time to think, Greg. I'm already letting people in here.
Oh my goodness. All the people are coming.
All the people,
So
all of our friends.
Good to see you all. Welcome to the party.
Welcome everybody to the Thursday edition, which I think we are starting to agree on the fact that it's our favorite edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, the incredible Gregg Cohen. Greg, you wanna talk to our friends that are joining us today while I'm going live on Facebook here?
This is my time to shine, right? This is my moment in the spotlight. I hope I don't disappoint you, Pablo. All right. I've got a great story for everybody. Normally with everyone, I love to understand what's positive, what's happening in your world. And I love it if you guys share. So I'll start off there. A question I always ask my daughter and my son is, what's the best thing that happened to you all day? So let's start there. And then I'll answer my own question. But what's the best thing that happened to you all day? Go ahead and post it in the comments. Let me know how your day is going and what that singular best thing that has happened to you all day is. And if you would, share it with all of the people in the audience as well.
Tell them how to share it with everybody in the audience.
Oh yeah, we got to do that. So go to the drop down, which is the chat box, the chat drop down. And then, man, I'm probably screwing this up, but then there's a drop down that says all panelists and attendees. And if you do that one, everyone gets to see it. Is that right?
Good job. You get a B+. It goes. You got to take it from all panelists to all panelists and attendees.
All right. So here's what the best thing that's happened to me all day is. Many of you were supporters, involved, donated your time, treasure, your talents as a part of JWB's mission last year through our charity golf tournament to build a new construction home and give it to a veteran who was suffering and who needed a home. And so this is the second year that we've done it. And I wanted to share the story of Rick Smith, who is one of those veterans that we have donated the homes to the last 2 years. Gotten to know Rick really, really well. And Rick was somebody that was struggling. And when we were able to give him the home, completely changed his life. I remember meeting Rick for the first time, and it was a challenge for him to shake my hand or to give me a hug or anything, because it was really tough for him suffering from PTSD. Fast forward now at our charity golf tournament, Rick gave me the biggest hug last year and talked to me about how his life had changed because he had this brand new home that you all are a part of. This is our victory together. So Rick, while he was struggling, found it hard to focus on really doing much. Tough for him to hold a job. And after he got this home, he then focused on becoming a gemologist. He then attained a scholarship and flew to California to be trained as a gemologist. And when Rick was deeded the home, so actually he gets deeded the home a couple of years after it's given to him. That's kind of the way these things work. He was just deeded the home a few weeks ago. And he came to me and he made a ring for me and all of my business partners, which was an incredible just moment. I can't tell you what it meant to me. And then to show you the type of individual that Rick is, as a way to show his gratitude, he said, Greg, I know you have a wife. I want to do something nice for her too. And I said, Rick, I can't ask you to do anything like that. I mean, the ring that he made for me took hundreds of hours to put together for him. And I said, I can't ask you to do that. And he said, no, I'd like to do something for your wife. And so again, when a military man tells you to do that, you listen. And I said, okay. And so then Rick came by today and he shared this. He dropped this off for me to give to my wife. He made her a necklace with her birthstone that he made, and he has been calling and texting me, just telling me how grateful he is for the home, but for more than that, for giving him the opportunity to find this passion for himself. And he keeps asking me for other people that he can do this for as a way to show his gratitude. So that is the best thing that happened to me all day. Rick's an incredible individual, and all of us together, this is the type of impact we get to make through our business here together with all of you. So super, super incredible.
Love it, man. Bill Shields says here in the comments, dang, love this story. It's awesome, right? I totally agree, right? Like, I love that this is a story. You gave someone a home. Like, that's not something that happened one time. He's going to live in that thing forever. He's going to remember you, JWB and everybody that invested in him forever. And you said something. He wants to be a gemologist for other people. How can we tell people to find Rick's gemology services? Is he in the Facebook group? We should invite him.
That's a really good idea. I'll reach out to Rick and I'll ask if he's open to kind of putting his information out there and seeing if that can help him in his business.
Yeah.
Well, I will certainly do that.
Okay. Well, luckily we went live as right when you're starting that story. So that is what everybody got to see in the Facebook group. And without further ado, I got to do my thing. Welcome everybody to the Not Your Average Investor Show, Thursday edition. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, the guy who became one of the foremost real estate experts on the way to gaining his PGA Tour card. To be continued, Gregg Cohen.
Love that. Act as if, right? You got to visualize it before it happens. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to go strong with that one.
You got it. Your future self. You will meet your future self one day, Gregg. You are visualizing. And today is our casual hanging out, couple friends hanging out. We got our friends that are here on most of our calls joining us again. Welcome back. We love seeing you, and a bunch of new names as well in here that I'm going to go cross it if I try to name everybody, but it's really, really, we're grateful that we get to spend an hour with you, or probably a little bit less than an hour on a Thursday. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Today we are going to go through a property deal of the week, an evaluation. We're going to break down the numbers. You can get to ask Gregg and I questions. Gregg will answer all of them because I don't really know as much as he does in any way. But this is to be very interactive. You drive the call today. So the way you interact with us, Gregg took a shot at it a little while earlier, but the best way is two methods. You hit that chat box and you change that little blue box from all panelists to all panelists and attendees, so that whenever you type something in there, everybody gets to see it and people can, learn from what you're asking, and you can learn from others, maybe make a new friend like Jake Hargrove, who's coming in late today with his yo.
I was wondering, did we even start the show yet? I mean, Jake hadn't. I was actually just looking at the chat box. I did not see Jake. I thought there was a problem with the chat box.
I was worried for Jake, to be perfectly honest. And then we also have the Q&A box. If you look to the right on the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A box. If you pop that open, that's the best place to get a question for my eyes to see it, so that I can get it into Gregg's brain so his mouth can answer it. I try to track everything. We also have a Facebook Live going on too. So I'm looking all over the place, but the most prominent place to get your question answered is that Q&A box. And otherwise, I promise I'll do my best. And outside of that, if you are done with this call and you want to know a little bit more, you want to know the next step, the easiest thing is to go to jwbwebclass.com, where there is a free webinar that Gregg put together that explains all the benefits of rental income properties. It explains the best markets to look at, things to think about, whether you are going to go with JWB or not. And you get the free investor toolkit, which is the spreadsheet that we're going to, I think it is, right? It's the spreadsheet that we're going to break down, which is the way that JWB evaluates all their deals. You can use that in your next evaluation. So I encourage you to go to jwbwebclass.com if you haven't done that already. Download that sucker. Really, really valuable. 15 years of real estate experience pumped into one piece of Excel. And without further ado, we're going to get into our JWB property breakdown of the week. But before that, as I'm pulling it up, Gregg, I heard you got a new dad joke for us.
I do. Oh man, I thought I wasn't going to get the spotlight anymore. All right. We and my team who is watching right now upstairs they were probably so mad because I didn't open with the dad joke. All right. If you know anything about JWB, especially on the sales side, we are big fans of dad jokes. I really love dad jokes. And another person on my team who really loves dad jokes is Mike Stewart, who is one of our gentlemen on the sales team, and you'll get to know him really well if you're a client at JWB. Mike delivers dad jokes like nobody else, so I'm probably going to screw it up compared to him. But Mike led our team meeting on Tuesday, and I thought he had just about the most appropriate dad joke for all things considered. So we're going to start with that. So what's today's date, Pablo?
October 18th, August 27th.
Nailed it. All right. So we are a little bit a ways, but we do have Christmas coming, right? We're about 4 months away from Christmas. And I don't know if all the parents out there are thinking about this, but with coronavirus here, we need to be careful how our message about Santa Claus is coming and landing on our young kids like I have, because there's coronavirus around. And kids are aware that if you go and meet a lot of people and you go in other people's houses, you potentially may spread this. So the question is, how is Santa Claus going to be safe from coronavirus?
I don't know, Greg. How is does he have some way? Is his red cloak gonna protect him, or the reindeer gonna save him?
I'll open it up to everybody else. How is Santa Claus going to protect you from coronavirus? We had a lot of really great comments that were thrown in by our team. He has a magic beard that protects him, was a good one. He uses Sanitizer, which was an awesome one.
That's a good
Not
one.
the answer though. Santa gets herd immunity from his reindeer, another really great one, but no. His magic makes him immune. His name is Santa Clorox. All good guesses. But the answer is that he has Santa bodies.
Hey-o!
So there you go.
Greg, that is a dandy of a joke, and that is. It's good. You did a good job. You did a good job. So let's get more into your wheelhouse in case you're thinking about quitting the real estate thing and going into comedy. Let's talk about this property, 9124 Dandy Avenue. Looks like this is the house that I'm used to kind of seeing, right? Like this seems like kind of a typical model for JWB. Is that kind of accurate?
It is. 75% of what JWB does as far as rental properties is brand new construction. So that's what you see here. First and foremost, you see a brand new construction rental property. You've probably even seen this exact same style, the same house, right? On different properties of the week that we've talked about. And definitely if you're a client, you may own one of these, which is, a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1665 square foot home. It's because we do the same thing over and over and over again. And one of the reasons why I chose this home specifically, we'll get into the numbers in a second, but one of the reasons that I chose this home specifically, some of you may already recognize this name on Dandy, right? We have featured other properties on this show on Dandy Avenue. And this house is in a neighborhood that we have the most activity since we started to invest here 15 years ago. I'm sure we'll show a map at some point. But if you're coming to rental properties, one of the reasons you're coming to this asset class is because you want consistency, right? You are probably not getting consistency in your other assets, and you want to be in an asset class where you have consistency. And the way you get consistency in rental properties is you do the same thing over and over and over again in the same neighborhoods. You build the same style of homes. You rent to the same residents. You renew those same leases. One of the reasons that I love this home for you all out there is because, well, this map right here, this is the neighborhood where Dandy is in. That little, what is that, green arrow?
Yep, it's green. That's right. I forget your colorblind.
Yeah. All right. So that green little mark there, that's 9124 Dandy. Pablo, what do you think all those other whatever blue colors are? Is it blue?
It is
There we
blue.
go, blue.
It is blue. You're doing well. You're doing well.
You know what? I'm good on cash flow and numbers, bad on colors. My daughter lets me know all the time.
And average to good on jokes so far.
Better on colors than jokes.
Yeah.
So what's all the blue stuff?
These are all homes. This is an incredible cluster of homes here that you guys have.
Yeah, you can't even get the full picture. Like if we zoomed in another 3 levels, you would see homes on homes on homes that you just can't see from these notes, from these markers here, right? This is the birthplace of build to rent for the entire country. In 2011, JWB bought about 46 lots in that neighborhood right there. And that's where we stumbled upon the fact that we could actually build new construction and create an asset that has positive cash flow and a great return for our investors, and also a great renting experience for our residents, so they get to rent a brand new construction home. That's where it happened. And we have continued to build out over the neighborhood. There are literally hundreds of homes that the same process of how we turn this into a cash flowing asset for this investor who purchases the one on Dandy, it's the same process that's been replicated hundreds and hundreds of times. So that's one of the main reasons that I chose this one as being the highlighted property for this week.
So Greg, I'm trying to, I quickly switched to Google Maps. There's a map of Jacksonville here, right? Mm-hmm. This home is here in this Arlington neighborhood, right?
Exactly.
So that map that we just showed, because Zoom isn't great at toggling back and forth, that map that we just showed is essentially this area here, and that home is like right around here.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Okay. Arlington is one of our 4 neighborhoods that we invest in. There's Arlington, the west side, south side, and the north side. All 4 are the only neighborhoods that we put our investors in because they're the perfect sweet spot for cash flow, long-term appreciation, and a place where we want to manage your homes to create consistency.
All right. Listen, man, that was a 9.8 on the difficulty scale for me of coordinating technology here. So I'm happy we can now look at this property and start being in both of our wheelhouses. Mine is
Nice.
listening to you, and you is talking about cash flow, right? So,
Let's do it. Let's zoom in a little bit then.
all right, yeah,
That might make it a 9.9, but I think you can handle it.
yeah, no, this is. Oh, here we go. I'm already messing it up.
All right, let's go to the cash flow and returns. There we
Yeah,
go.
there you
All right.
go.
So why do I love this thing? Well, I'm always going to bring high ROI properties to you. Our scale is between 9 to 11%. If we're looking at that line item where it says estimated conventional financing, total monthly cash flow, and estimated, exactly right where Pablo is there, that's what I'm quoting there. That's assuming that you're purchasing this property, taking advantage of the debt that's offered right now, taking advantage of getting a mortgage at a really, really low interest rate with great terms, which is available for you now. So 10.9% is the estimated return on investment. Pablo, what does that not include?
That does not include this big old zero right here, which is the appreciation rate that you have listed at zero, right?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So that 10.9% is only counting the cash flow from the rents and counting all the negative and positive items that come along with that. The negative items would be your maintenance cost or your vacancy cost or any tenant placement fees or management fees. All that's included there, as well as your tax savings on the property, as well as your principal pay down on the property, which is the resident paying the loan down for you. So you have 4 of the 5 profit centers counted there. The only one that does not count is appreciation. And the reason that we don't do that, we do believe in long-term appreciation in Jacksonville. It's one of the reasons people choose our market. The only reason I don't include it there is because you need to buy and hold for a full market cycle to count on home price appreciation. And many of our investors plan to hold for between 10 to 20 years, but I don't know about you yet, you as the investor out there. And assuming you aren't for a buy and hold period of a full market cycle, 10 to 20 years, you can throw an appreciation rate in there and you can expect to get an even higher rate of return than what you see here.
So, Greg, I'm going to take a little liberty here and assume that there is going to be a market cycle and that the market cycle is the same as the historical appreciation that's been happening in Jacksonville, 4.3%. And this thing goes to 26.54%.
Shh, don't tell anybody, Pablo. Don't tell anybody. I don't want people expecting that return on investment, okay, right? Because I don't know if they're going to hold on for 10 years.
So I know that you don't know that, but I know that you can explain something. Why didn't it just go up to 15% if it was almost at 11 and I just added 4?
Fantastic question. This is the power of using smart leverage. This is the power of using smart leverage. Okay, right now we all have the ability out there to secure an interest rate of 4% to borrow money. And that loan stays in place for 30 years if you'd like it to stay in place for that long. Now that is incredible because it improves your cash flow every single month. But what is hidden for most people, what they don't understand is the effect of a growing market if you take out financing, okay? So what Pablo is asking there is 11% is just from the cash flows. Most people would think, well, if the market appreciates about 4% a year, then it should go up to a 15% of return. That's not actually what's happening because the asset value is going up 4%, meaning the market value of your home is going up 4%. But if you use debt, you only put down maybe 25%. All right. So what that means is every 4% gain in appreciation really means a 16% return on investment gain for you because you're using the power of leverage. So if you're investing in a growth market like Jacksonville, leverage is even more important to secure for you. And it's not right for everybody. This is something we do when we bring on clients, we build their buying plan with them and for them. We understand that financing is not right for everybody, but it's a good idea to show you the big picture of what is possible and how we can help you get to your financial goals even quicker by using leverage.
There you go. So just, I'm getting better at this, right? Like I'm starting to understand this really well. So if we're going to just do some real quick napkin math, it's you're putting down 25%, let's say in this house. So you're putting down like 50, a little bit over 50 grand. House goes up by 4.3%, which means that it appreciates to getting a little bit harder, but
8,000.
another 8,000, right? So it goes up to 211. But since you had you're only into it for that 25 grand, I'm sorry, that 50 grand, 8,000 of 50 grand becomes this 26%, right? 26.5%.
It's close.
Okay.
You know, that 8,000 over 50,000 would be a 16% return.
Okay.
And the way you'd get to the 26% would be adding the other profit centers other than appreciation, which would be your cash flow, your tax savings, your principal paid on. That's how you'd ultimately get to that 26%.
Makes sense to me, man. I'm gonna go back down to these base figures. And anybody that's been here before kind of hears us do this breakdown, but I think it is, for me at least, this is like maybe the 5th time I hear it, and I'm finally starting to get it. So notice how I'm still not perfect. So that's why we do it for everybody.
Very normal. I really do. This is not natural stuff that is taught very often or spoken of very much, right? We definitely don't teach this in our schools. And but this was my journey too, of fully understanding all of these profit centers. And that's what motivated me to do something that was not very natural for me, to quit my job, leave corporate America, go out on my own and start to buy rental properties, because it finally clicked for me, which I know is clicking for many of us out there.
Excellent. Excellent. So we already have a question here from Mike Foster. Welcome back, Mike. Good to see you. Always asking great questions. He asks, what would that ROI be on this property if the down payment is 20% rather than 25%? Is there somewhere I can go on this spreadsheet to do that, Greg?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you'll go to the tabs at the bottom, the one on the far right says conventional, right?
Yep.
So let's zoom in to the very top, and it's column G is kind of where we're going to be focused there. All right. Okay. So, and this is a part of the toolkit that everybody can get by going to JWB web class. This is an Excel document that we provide for you. And we do that because of requests from clients. They wanted to use this. They have shared with us that it's hard to calculate all of the profit centers for other property evaluations out there in other markets. And they wanted to have one central place to use to compare apples to apples. And so that is what you can get here. So anyways, let's go to column H for the down payment. You see where it says 25% there? Change that to 20%. Okay. And if we go to the far right, just on this page, just go over to the far right. Yeah, there we go. See how our return on investment went up to 12.44%. Okay. Now what Mike is asking for is what's the effect on everything, including home price appreciation. But what that 12.44 just went up from 11 to 12.44. That's just the effect on the positive cash flow for you.
Got it. So then if I've downloaded this toolkit at home, I then go back here, pop in 4.3%, and now we're cooking with some grease here.
Gas, right?
Yeah.
So that's why when you're an investor, we want to look at ways that we can control assets with using as little of our own money as possible. Now, I say that with a caveat because I do not advise everybody to go off the deep end and start trying to find no money down rental property investing deals. That's not where I'm going. This is really a conversation between using 25% down or 20% down, right? But the reality is when you run the numbers, if you use less of your own money into it, and the asset continues to go up in value, your overall return on investment is going to increase the least amount of money you put down, right? Again, this is part of a bigger conversation. This is not a one size fits all. Many times I'll sit down with a client and I'll say, you know what, we're going with 25% down. We understand that this is happening, but we're still going to go with 25% down for a number of other reasons, right? One reason might be that your interest rate is actually a tad bit lower when you go 25% versus 20%. There's a whole lot of reasons. So this is not one size fits all. However, if you're holding everything constant and you put less money down and the market value goes up, you're going to see an overall better rate of return, which is why that went up from 27% to about 31% once we kind of went through that part of the equation there.
Got it. That's a huge spread, man. So let me ask something else, Greg. You said you don't advise people to invest with no money down stuff. Like what's the downside to some kind of like no money down rental property investing when leverage is so good?
Well, so leverage has a limit to it. So the reason that you're able to make this work for a 4% interest rate is because you're getting put into a loan that is normal, vanilla. It's backed by Fannie Mae, and it is what we call conventional financing. The least amount that Fannie will allow you to put down is 20% if for an investment property. If it's a primary residence, it's a different story, right? Then if the lower you go down as far as your down payment, the less financing options you have, right? And so if you were to try to put 10% down, I don't even know of a product right now that allows you to put 10% down. You might have to raise that money privately, right, in order to do that deal. And then to do that, you're not getting a 4% interest rate. You probably have a balloon payment in 5 years to pay it back off, or whatever it may be. So it gets less beneficial when you step out of conventional financing. And then more importantly, there needs to be some skin in the game for this asset, right? Like this is not your typical real estate flip where you're trying to be a deal maker and trying to go no money down and just turn your money over time, right? There's something healthy about putting money down in this deal, in this type of an investment. And so I think that's important because this needs to be a long-term hold for you. And for really, it's just to make sure that you have the right mentality. You are not a flipper. You are not a fast changing kind of money engineer if you're investing in this asset class.
Got it, Greg. So we got another question here. Guillermo Montes is asking us, on the other end, what is the effect if you have a large down payment, like 40%? So I'm going to work out the numbers here, and maybe you can talk about the psychology of a large versus smaller down payment.
Yeah, so we do have some clients that want to put more than 25% down. Generally, the more money you put down as a percentage basis means that you're closer to retirement age, or that you have less number of sources of income coming in. Like we say that you're closer to retirement age, but that really the reason why people make decision to buy in all cash or put more down is because they're relying more on the cash flow from this asset, and they might not have their day job, which is another source of income, or some other way that they were earning income might not be there. So generally speaking, if you are closer to retirement age or you have less sources of income around there, you're going to focus more on cash flow today in your pocket, and you're willing to give up some potential return on investment so that you can have more security, more cash flow in your pocket on a monthly basis. That would be the mentality of why you would decide to put more down, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of people.
Yeah, especially when you look at this, you look at the spreadsheet, right? We just went, I did the little magic on the free investor kit that you give out at jwbwebclass.com, free plug. Mm-hmm. And we went from almost $300 a month in cash flow to $442 a month in cash flow. This number here, the 8.45% went down some, right? So now the longevity, and this is still with that 0% appreciation rate, right? Just pointing that out. So if we add the 4.3% appreciation rate, cash flow stays the same. It goes down to 18.57%. So something to look at there, Guillermo, right?
Well said.
Okay, super, man. Greg, what are you going to do when I take this whole thing over by myself, man? I think that's what everybody wants to know.
Dude, I'm going to be surfing. It's going to be great.
I love it, man. Okay, so I want to ask you a couple of other things, and I love this exercise. I can go on all day doing this, and I definitely will go on all day doing this. But I just want to encourage people to do this on their own, right? Go to jwbwebclass.com, get the spreadsheet, play with the numbers, and I don't want to make it too busy on the screen as I'm typing stuff. But I do want to ask you something, Greg. I see that this house, as I'm rearranging these numbers here, I see that this house it's cheaper than last week's house, right? Last week's house was somewhere around like $215, and yet has a similar ROI and has almost the same exact cash flow.
Yeah.
Can you explain what might be going on there?
This is a great case study in how prices, rents, and return on investment are all relative, right? You got to have that secret sauce to make it all work together so that you can deliver a return on investment, right? If your purchase prices are going to be higher, generally speaking, your rents need to be higher as well to deliver the same return on investment, right? I think the return on investment was pretty similar last time, if I remember. Maybe it was 10.8 or 10.9 or something. It was pretty similar.
Correct.
Right. So, but the purchase price was a little bit higher last time. The rents were also a little bit higher last time. Right. So here we're able to get $14.50 in rent. I remember it last time our rents were $15.24 for that property. So that could justify a higher purchase price. The other part of purchase price is that it has to be justified by all of the comparable sales in the area. So what JWB is doing is putting together this pretty delicate little puzzle every time we create a cash flow opportunity for a client and sell a house, right? We have to sell it at market value, and the prices and the rents need to work to where they can ultimately deliver a 9 to 11% return on investment, right? Then when people ask us, why do we only focus on these 4 neighborhoods? It's because that's really hard to do across an entire marketplace, right? The only neighborhoods that we focus on are these because that's where we can mix and match everything to make it work, right? There are neighborhoods out there that have a better rent to price ratio, but we're not able to turn those into assets to sell because it might not be the right neighborhood, right? Or the purchase prices might not be high enough that JWB can buy them and still make a profit on selling it, right? It has to, there's a whole bunch of crazy factors. So that's why we stick to what we know. We think years in advance to be able to secure inventory in these neighborhoods. It's because it's really, really hard to replicate this over and over and over again. But you got to have all of those 3 things working together. Price and rents deliver the return on investment that you need, generally speaking, and price also has to match the market value so that you're not forced to pay more than market value for your home, which is not what you do with JWB.
That makes sense. I'm also seeing another 0 on the spreadsheet, which is this estimated annual HOA dues. Is that normal?
Yes.
That does, do most of these not have HOAs? Can you just talk to me through that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point here. So HOA stands for Homeowners Association. And generally speaking, as you get to higher rent amount neighborhoods, you would tend to expect to see at least a small HOA, right? So HOA fees can be large, they can be small. For JWB properties, we do have properties that are in HOAs, but we're going to make sure that ultimately the numbers can work even if you're in an HOA, right? The returns still have to work. So we would take that into account if there was an HOA fee. However, if there's no HOA fee, we love that, right? Here's a great example on Dandy where there is no homeowners association and there's no HOA fee. And so that's why you see 0 there. Generally speaking, as you start to get to neighborhoods in the 1400s and 1500s and higher in Jacksonville, it's very common to see an HOA fee of maybe $300 a year or maybe $400 a year. But this is another really great example of how we're able to locate this neighborhood, why you saw all of those blue pins on that area, because we love this neighborhood. It's because no HOAs allow this to work for JWB. If there was a $400 or $500 HOA fee, why don't we bring that back up and just see what the effect on returns would be if we did that?
Okay, I prematurely stopped that there.
There
So
we
what
go.
am I doing? I was already thinking about bringing up the map and the next 3 questions. Sorry,
It's
can
cool.
you
I
ask
try
me?
to throw you off every once in a while, and I get you. So
You do a
go
good
to
job.
row 28, where it says estimated annual HOA dues, and type in $500. All right. Now bring that over to returns over there. That dropped our estimated return on investment by a full point. Right?
Yep.
Some HOAs, right? They're thousands of dollars, right? If you put $2,000 in there. Boom, not a deal.
Not a
right?
deal.
An HOA of $2,000 a month. Many of us on the call here might live in a community where we pay $200 a month for an HOA, right? This is the effect on HOAs. What most people actually get burned by is that they didn't factor this in when making their decision to buy their rental property, and it can really hurt your cash flow, all these unexpected things. But you don't get that with us, of course. We know these neighborhoods so well, and $0 HOAs are a great thing. small dollar value HOAs are not necessarily a bad thing. The numbers have to work.
Got it. So another reason to at least, if you're not doing business with JWB, get this calculator, right? So you're not missing that one, right? Okay. I got a couple of crowd generated questions here. One of them is from an anonymous attendee. I would love to know who this is so I can say your name. But he or she asks, do you have partnerships with lenders that understand and work well with JWB assets, or can you refer lenders?
It's a great question. We absolutely have those partnerships in place. I mean, one of the reasons you would be coming to JWB is so that this could be done for you, that this is passive for you, that this is easy. And a part of that is us making the financing process as easy as possible for you. So, and the financing process is a big deal, right? We need to make sure that that works, because without the lender actually closing on the loan, the property doesn't get sold. The property doesn't get purchased for you, right? There's so much weight that goes into it. So we have vetted our lender network for years now. Some of our lenders have literally been lending to our clients for over 5 years, over 7 years, hundreds of loans. And so as you would reach out to our team and we would kind of bring you on board, and through the client onboarding process, we do a client demo with you. That's when we would start the process of getting you pre-approved with the lender that we would match you with. And a common question that I get is, can I use my own lender? And the answer to that one is no. And part of the reason is because of what I was just talking about, right? It is so important that this loan closes. Over 60% of our clients purchase with financing in place. And it is a huge risk to the client. It's a huge risk to JWB to work with lenders that we haven't vetted before. So we would make sure that we introduce you to the lender. All the lenders have been vetted to make sure they get the lowest rates for you. JWB does not make a referral fee from referring you to a lender. We literally just want you to have the best experience and the lowest rates. And we've done all the heavy lifting for you. So what I would recommend to Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous out there is to reach out to my team, start those conversations. We'd be happy to put you in touch.
All right. Mike Foster has a question. How does JWB handle a situation where there is an HOA that requires some standard external property care, but the renter ignores it and lets the property deteriorate?
How would we handle it if there is standard external care that's required, but the renter ignores it? Well, so with an HOA, there's a lot of benefits for an HOA, right? If you're in an HOA community and the numbers work, right, there is a governing body that makes some of those decisions for you as far as how the general upkeep of a property works. Depending on the HOA, some of the maintenance is covered in your HOA fees as well. Generally speaking, this might be something like roof or something major like that, right? It's not one size fits all. So we would explain this to you before you purchased a property in an HOA for us. But let's just say that that's an example, right? If a roof work needed to be done and it was covered by the HOA in the HOA fees, then that would not be something that you had to get the resident approval on to do that, right? Another really common one that is covered is your lawn care, your lawn maintenance, right? That's typically covered in your HOA fees. Now, to Mike's question, what would happen if something needed to be done that wasn't covered under HOA fees and the resident wasn't complying? Well, there's a lot that can be done. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the owner's property. And when there is an exterior fix that needs to be done, right, that is not the call for the resident to make, right? And that might sound harsh, but we would certainly make sure that we had that communication with the resident and made sure they understood. But like at the end of the day, it's not a risk whether or not we could take care of some external item without the resident's, approval. Now, if we're talking about internal items, we need to have some give and take there, make sure we do it on the resident's schedule. But that starts with bringing them on with the right expectation from the initial, onset of them becoming a resident, and talking about how there will be times when we do need to get inside the home, talking about our communication and advance notice, which we do, and all of those things. So it's generally, I don't remember the last time that it was a problem of getting access to a home, and it's certainly not something that's common.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys handle this the same way you handle everything, which is you have amazing relationships with everybody that's involved, right? So you're going to excuse me if I mispronounce your name. Awais Imam asks, currently I have all rental properties are fully paid and no mortgages. I'm thinking to get home equity line to open, I'm thinking to get a home equity line open and buy other properties by paying 20 to 25% down. Is that a bad idea or good?
I think that is an incredible idea. I would love to understand what your full picture and what your goals are before fully committing to this answer, because I think it can be a different answer for different people. But if we're just talking about how you can earn the best return on your money, being able to tap into equity that you have in current performing assets and then leveraging 4% debt to be able to acquire additional assets can be one of the greatest wealth drivers that you can have. You have some serious options to do that. I personally do exactly what you're talking about, right? I borrow money on home equity lines of credit, and then I use those to make other investments in real estate. And so that is a really sound strategy that I love. Now, doesn't mean you go off the rails, right? Make sure these assets are paying for themselves. Make sure you're not cash flow negative because of what you're doing, and make sure that you're using it to buy another asset that is a good investment, right? But simply doing that. Now, here's the problem that you'll face, though, is that getting home equity lines of credit on investment properties is extremely difficult. When I started in 2006, I did this all the time. And I was a 23-year-old kid who had a whole bunch of debt and a lot of 40 rental properties at that time, but a whole bunch of debt. And I was a new business owner. But it was so simple. I could walk into a bank and I could get a home equity line of credit on pretty much any property I wanted. That was 2006. Then the Great Recession happened. Banks do not make those types of loans anymore. And that's really kind of where we're at with investment properties for home equity lines of credit. Home equity loans are readily available, so refinancing the property and pulling it out. But home equity lines of credit are very hard to come by. Generally speaking, they're only available for your primary residence to get a home equity line of credit.
Got it. Great answer. We've got a couple more questions here, but I know that we wanted to get to a question that somebody asked you in an email that I want to make sure that we bring up, Greg, before we run out of time today. Cassie S. sent you an email saying, I'm a newbie, parentheses, wannabe investor, learning about your industry / company and working on coming up with a 40K of working capital for a down payment. And I am wondering what your thoughts are on a possible upcoming housing market crash.
Well, I hope Cassie's on the call here as well. I super appreciate her reaching out and asking this question, which I'm sure is on the mind of a lot of investors out there, right? What if the market were to crash? What are the indications that a market might crash is probably the next best question too. So Cassie, what I would tell you to do is to look at those indicators and see what story it's telling you. Okay, so while everybody is fearful of what effects coronavirus is having on the overall economy, that is one effect on housing, right? But the more impactful effect on housing prices or a potential housing crash is supply and demand. And the best way to measure this is through months of inventory. So we actually track this. We've tracked it since 2014 here at JWB. And in Jacksonville, we track how many homes are on the market to sell, and we divide it by the number of homes that sold the previous month. And so what you get is this run rate of how many months of inventory it would take to fully exhaust the real estate market. And history shows us that between 6 to 7 months is an equilibrium market. And an equilibrium market should return the same historical home price appreciation, all things considered. So historical home price appreciation in Jacksonville is 4.3%. So to just make it simple, if you see between 6 to 7 months of inventory, that would lead you to believe that you should see a normal home price appreciation market. And if you try to kind of predict where a declining market would go, you would need well above 7 months of inventory. We just ran the stats, Pablo. I didn't even share it with you yet. Literally, my business partner, Alex, was just telling me this on Wednesday. But our months of inventory in Jacksonville is 1.87 as of end of July. It's gone down from June, where we made a big deal about it being 2.36. We had more sales in July than we had in June, and June set a record for the number of sales in Jacksonville at 3,100. At the same time, inventory is declining because less people are putting their houses on the market, because if you have an occupied home, you don't want somebody else coming through your home right now. So I think that I do not see a housing crash happening anytime soon. When you have less than 2 months of inventory, I've never seen that in Jacksonville as long as we've been tracking it. And that has historically proven to be the best indicator of where a housing market is going.
Wow. I mean, I feel it, right? Cause I'm looking to buy a home right now. And when Alex sends me an email of like things he's finding for us, cause he's doing me that favor, cause he's a great dude. And I send it to my wife and she picks one out. Like 90% of them are already under contract by the time that I even contact my realtor. It's pretty incredible.
It's tough. And then you've got low interest rates at
Yeah.
the same time, which is furthering that demand.
Yeah.
And when you have low supply and high demand, and even factors that increase the demand, it makes it tough to find inventory, which means higher prices.
Greg, I took the liberty to tell a Weiss that his or her question is a good reason to get on chatwithjwb.com and get that answered personally. Is that a good resource?
Absolutely.
For his question?
Chatwithjwb.com is going to put you in touch with my team. Not only will you get a great rundown of the model here, the overall real estate market, but you will be talking to one of two Mikes who are both dads, and that's the source of my dad joke today. So be very excited. You may get some really great dad joke material as well.
Awesome. Dad jokes. I guess last question. So Victor Scarpula has a really specific question here about owning 10 single family homes in Iowa and Illinois that are currently paid for, and he would like to refi them. Like you had just said, the problem is that they're titled to a privacy trust with an LLC as the beneficiary. Do you have a mortgage broker that can refinance them as they are? Is that a question for here? Is that a chat with JWB thing? Is that an email question?
That's definitely a time to talk with my team. I think that there's a way. And so it's not uncommon to be able to do specific loans. I truly don't know if that's the best product for you, though. A lot of things, I have more questions than answers for you right now, yeah. And my team will as well. There's a lot of opportunities for you to basically wind up in the same spot and maybe secure a better loan product. So I feel really good about some solution for your question there, but reach out to my team. Let's get a little more insight for you.
Okay. So Victor and Weiss, you have homework. Go to chatwithjwb.com, pick out a time to chat with one of the mics, and learn a new dad joke while you're at it. Last question, Greg, before I send you on your way. Marilyn Cotterman asked a question that I haven't asked in a while because I feel like we've just been kind of taking it for granted, but how are rent collections going so far?
Really good. I didn't pull the number for for August right before our show, but I pulled it about a week ago, and we were tracking right with where we were in July. And we've been over 97% rent collected every month since COVID. And we're going to wind up right there. That's where we were when I checked it a week ago. So I'm sure we're right on pace there. And I'll, you know what, that's probably what I'll do. I'll do a walk and talk here later today, and I'll go over the stats for months of inventory, and I'll also go over our rent collection stats. And I know Marilyn is always one of our most engaged folks on the walk and talks in the group. I super appreciate you being there, Marilyn. So this walk and talk will answer your question for you later today.
For those of you that are new here today, when Greg refers to a walk and talk, he goes live on Facebook Monday through Friday, gives a little tidbit of knowledge in rental income properties. Sometimes it's inspirational, sometimes it's tactical. And he does it live inside of our Facebook group that has 1,600 investors. And it's become our community, right? Like I haven't said this in a while, but it's our little cool club. And we encourage anybody that wants to join that. It's jwbfacebookgroup.com. I'll put it here in the chat. I'm going to leave Victor and a Weiss with the homework of going to chatwithjwb.com, and everybody else, I encourage you, go pick up that calculation sheet. This is my first time really like messing around with it. It's fun, right? So go to jwbwebclass.com. I'm going to put it all here in the chat. This was another excellent call. Greg, you are on your way to a special place.
And I am. So I get to go and do something that I love to do. I get to go and play golf with a few friends. We're flying out to Bandon, Oregon. For any golfers out there, Bandon Dunes is like golf mecca. And so that's where I'm going. So it's an amazing trip. We've been planning it for a year. I'm excited about it, but there's one downside.
What's that?
I'm gonna get to hang out with you next Tuesday, brother.
I know. But that being said, I was just talking to Melissa yesterday. You want to tell them about Melissa, Greg?
I do. So Melissa Gillespie runs JWB Property Management. And, Lee, who I see is putting a comment in right now, gave us a great suggestion on the Facebook group and has mentioned it a few times here on the show. It said, I would really love to hear from other JWB teammates. And I would love to hear the successes, the challenges, what's going on right now. There's no better teammate than Melissa to bring that type of insight here for JWB on the show here. So we've invited Melissa to be here on Tuesday here in the show. She is super pumped, and I'm super pumped that she gets to share her message. Incredible leader at JWB, and you guys are going to get a lot of real world knowledge specifically on the property management business.
Yeah, I was talking to Melissa yesterday, and she joined JWB, I think like 6-7 years ago. And JWB back then was operating the property management side one way. Then you switch to a kind of like portfolio manager. One person does everything. And then recently have gone back to splitting it up between maintenance and the leasing and filling it out and all these things, right? So Melissa's really going to break down those top two things that you need to consider, right? Like the leasing and the property management and how to think about them differently. She's going to break that stuff down so that everybody, if you are managing your own property or you are deciding in between property management companies, this is going to be a masterclass in everything that you need to know about. Plus, I'm pretty sure it's going to be entertaining, man. Melissa's got a great energy. I can't wait.
Oh, she's great. I mean, for all of you, put yourself in the shoes of wanting to understand what it would be like to manage 3,600 properties. Right? For some of the questions that we got today, right? Making that decision, like Mike's question, how would you handle a renter situation if they didn't want you to do some repairs? Well, it's tough to make that call when you've been through that one time. Melissa's been through every question you guys are going to throw at her, right? Times 3,600 properties times 15 years of managing, right? She has been there, will be this incredible resource for you all. And so I'm excited for you all to really kind of take advantage of the time that you have with her. And I know she's super fired up to be here with you all as well.
Definitely. So without further ado, this has been an amazing call. Thursdays. I love Thursdays, right? Like it's just a different energy, man. I love hanging out with you, Greg. We haven't been running this week because I had a little bit of sniffles earlier this week and I decided to self-quarantine. I think I'm fine, but I miss you, buddy. So I'm glad we got to do this with our friends here on Thursday. And I really appreciate everybody that spent an hour with us today. This 45 minutes, 50 minutes that you all got to hang out. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day. Greg, I'll leave it to you to say the last word.
Well, I super appreciate everybody being here. Likewise, Pablo, always great to hang out with you, brother. And I wanted everybody to know I'm going to miss you next Tuesday, but don't worry. I will still be in the group all day, every day, doing my thing. So I will not be far. I hope, and I know you guys will have an awesome time next Tuesday.
See you all Tuesday.
See ya.